Nice. Yes. What the? Please, clip it. Nah, but bro, like, I love me. Yo guys, Zachriel here again, back with another video. And today I thought I'd make a bit of a different video. I've been receiving a lot of questions on my live stream and on Discord, on YouTube, in YouTube comments as well. So I thought I'd do a Q&A where I answer some of the most frequently asked questions. I made a thread on my Discord where people could ask questions. I also picked some up from the YouTube comments. So I thought I'd answer them to the best of my ability. And yeah, hopefully it clarifies some stuff. Obviously, we're still doing a lot of testing. I'm doing a lot of testing. So it is kind of hard to figure everything out so early on. But as I've mentioned before, I am in a very good guild with a lot of good people that I can talk to and that I can discuss with. So we're starting to get an idea, but we haven't really started wargaming yet. So it is a bit harder. And yeah, I'm currently live on Twitch as well, streaming, but I thought I'd do this video while I'm streaming. So a lot of the questions, some of them are quite similar, so they might tie into each other. We'll just start flowing and we'll see. So the first question is, what's really the difference between Seeker and Oracle? Seeker being longbow wand and Oracle being orb wand, and where does one have the edge over the other? So to the first question, I would say in terms of raw healing throughput, if you consider mitigation as well, so like not only the green numbers, but the actual shields as well. Like right now, it doesn't say how much do you mitigate. So how much does your shield actually soak in terms of damage, right? There's no really way of measuring that as it is right now. But in terms of raw throughput, if you consider both mitigation and healing, then Orb Wand is far more superior in terms of raw throughput. So the only issue is when it comes to the Orb Wand is that you're not really healing that much, right? The toolkit doesn't allow you, it doesn't free up that much space to the point where you're able to heal as much as you would with a bow, for example, right? Seeker, on the other hand, has obviously been nerfed. It has less throughput now, but it does heals over time. It is still a very solid healer. What we're discussing right now in my guild is that the Orb Wand and the Bow Wand is probably the best combination with a third, some sort of support. We haven't really figured that out yet. But it also has the cleanses, also has the Nature's Blessing, so still just a very strong piece. Another issue that the Orb Wand has currently is the range of it. So for anyone that has been playing Orb, I'm sure you've been super frustrated about the range of the Orb, which has also been an issue. So with the Bow Wand, it enables your DPSs to go deeper into a fight, for example, which just gives them a bit more sustain as they're running off trying to kill an enemy, right? Another thing is, which I'm also sure a lot of you Orb players have noticed, the second you get CC'd or stunned, you have zero sustainability. Like you have zero sustain if you get stunned, if you get CC'd, you're just dead. Whereas if you're playing bow, for example, you still have those heals over time that could potentially save you. So both healers are still super strong, but in their own way. That's the first question. What's with the new runes? Is it possible they can boost healing over time so much that the normal Seeker, so that it becomes as good as Seeker was before the nerf? So to answer that question, I will just say straight away, no. You will never be as strong as you used to be. If you're expecting Seeker, as in Longbow Wand, to heal as much as it used to do, that's never gonna happen. It's been so nerfed, unfortunately. I still think that with the toolkit that you have as a Seeker, I think it was strong. I think it was too strong. Like healers overall were too strong, but I think they over nerfed it. Like they nerfed it way too much. So just to give you an idea right now so that you know what I'm talking about, there are basically 3 different type of stats now for healers, right? One is shield health, which applies to the shields that you do from the orb, so mainly Distortion Veil, right? So the shield that Distortion Veil does, the orb ability, gets bigger. You get a stronger shield. Then you have skill healing over time. That's basically your flash wave and your healing touch. And then you have your healing one, which should be somewhere there. So normal healing, that's like swift heal, clay salvation, whatever. All of those direct heals essentially. So those are the 3 stats. The targeted skill healing over time, one might think that it could be like healing touch because you target someone and then you press it. But if you read over here, you can see that it says increases the amount healed over time by skills that target you. So it's healing received by healing touch essentially. But no, I don't think there is a world where you're able to get enough skill heal over time percent, so this stat, to the point where you are able to get back to where you were before the nerf. I am also considering maybe swapping these two. Like right now, I'm playing 2-set Forgotten Lotus Garb. I have considered swapping to 4-set of Ethereal, just because, yeah, healing is for, as I said, wand abilities. Skill healing over time is for bow. So this is kind of like made for a bow wand set, essentially. But I'm still not too sure yet. But yeah, that answers that question. Which heroics are the best options for which class? So it's kind of hard to answer that because depending on what you have had since before and so on and so forth, it can differ quite a bit. I'll pull up my quest log here. But assuming that you have infinite amount of lucent or you haven't made any changes to your character right now, if you're talking about endurance, okay, then this is by far the best option. You want to go chest piece, you want to go bracers, and you want to go for the orb, essentially. There are variations, and I will put a link to both the build guide and to my last video where I talk about different builds in the description below. But basically, there are a lot of variants where you can swap this around. So let's say you don't have the Lucent and you have the wand from before, you can still play this kind of build even if you have a heroic wand, for example. But in an ideal world, you probably want to go the heroic orb, you want to go with the chest, and you want to go for the braces if you're playing endurance, for example. If you're playing endurance bow wand, you want to go for the bow. I've talked about that as well before. If you're playing evasion, I mean, there is also a world where you're playing Grand Aelon. Technically, if you really want to min-max it, as I said, there is a world where you go Grand Aelon bow and you reroll the wand, essentially. And then you put in either Cordy, if you have that, or you'd put in the King Kansai Sin barrier if you don't have the Cordy yet. And the reason why you want to do that is because partly because you get cooldown speed, which is a good stat, but also the 16% skill heal over time. Okay. So for the weapons, I'd go this. If you're playing bow wand, this is the combo I would do. I'm gonna do it the other way around. I have the heroic bow. I don't see any reason to swap as of right now. But yeah, that's my plan at least. For orb bow, if you run that, which I don't think you should, at least not right now, I would go for the orb. And for orb wand, I would also go for the orb. So that kind of summarizes the heroics. Then when it comes to the armors, as I said, for the endurance, best in slot would be chest. For evasion, it's either cloak or helmet. Either or works pretty fine. But yeah, I kind of like having these slots open. But let's say, just for example, for the sake of it, like I said earlier, in case I go 4-set, I could still technically go 4-set with this, right? I could have the helmet, the heroic helmet still. So like it is possible to play around with it. But yeah, I think the most important part is probably the weapon combinations. For evasion, you want to go the ring, as it is right now. And for endurance, you want to go for the bracelet, as I mentioned. So that's it when it comes to the heroic pieces. Is heroic bow still a good option for tier 3? Yes, it is. It is still a very good option. I'm still running it. Obviously, you will lose the 16% skill healing over time. You also, however, if you go for the Grand Aelon bow, you also, however, lose some base damage. So I'd say those 16% might be around 10 to 11% roughly. And also you lose some range, right? Like you have a lot of range on this, and the Grand Aelon bow is less range. And there's also been some talk about the Grand Aelon bow only applying to yourself, but that still hasn't been tested quite yet, right? And the thing is, even if you go for more range, like range percent, it still doesn't equate to like having this as a base stat. Like the meters compared to the range percentage is way more important, right? I would say yes, the bow is still viable. There is also a world where we will be able to upgrade a Cordy wand, and we don't know what stats that will give, so that will also be a very strong option. So yeah, the heroic bow is still definitely very viable. Why are you still using tier 2 gear sets in your gear? The reason why I'm still running tier 2 gear sets in my gear is because it just gives the most evasion and endurance right now. Like, if we look at the stats here, like obviously right now it's 4.3k, 3.5k. You can play around with it. I haven't like really done what I'm running right now, but you can play around with runes and whatnot. You can play around with resonance effects, etc. If you feel like 4.2 is a bit too high or it's a bit too low, there's a lot of wiggle room where you can play around with it. But I would definitely say that it gives the most evasion and endurances if we just play around with it for now and we go for this 4 set instead. As you can see, you lose quite a lot of evasion. We lost almost 400 magic evasion, and we lost nearly 300 melee evasion. So a total of 700 evasion going from tier 2 to tier 3. So yeah, it's quite a significant defensive loss. But then again, it's like, do you need this much evasion to be healthy, or is it worth getting that 4 set instead of having those high evasions, right? So it's kind of a trade-off. I've always been of the mind that you can have as much throughput as you want, but if you are dead, it doesn't matter, right? Like, it won't matter what happens. Like, you won't have any throughput if you're dead. So I'd rather have more defenses and less throughput, if that makes sense. That answers that question. Which healers will be the best for PvE? So as it stands right now, the best healer for PvE, I would say, is still, and I've talked to a lot of other healers that are playing on a high level of PvE, way higher than me, for example. Bow Wand is still the strongest one because of the deadly marker, because of the continuous healing, because of the Fountain of Life that gives mana, Valorous Barrier, you have Enchanting Time, or if you don't want to play Enchanting Time, I see a lot of healers have started going for, instead of going Enchanting Time. Why are my skills not changing, by the way? Is it because I'm in my house? Give me a sec. There we go. So instead of playing Enchanting Time, you play Time for Punishment because it affects everyone. So everybody gets a boost from this. You have Janice's Rage, you have Shields, you have Deadly Marker, you have Nature's Blessing for more mana, you can cleanse in case people get stunned or slowed or whatever. So it's just far superior buffing option than Orb Wand or Orb Bow, for example. So for PvE, I would say Seeker is still the best. I am still running Forced Ardent. There might be a better option, but there's only so much you can do as a healer. Right now, cooldown reduction is capped at 120%. I'm way above that cap. So I've removed some of my cooldown speed, and I'm currently sitting on 100% buff duration, right? With 144% healing, which is like kind of whatever, right? At this point. But yeah, these are the two most important stats, and we're basically almost capped out on them. So you will have a lot of uptime and a lot of cooldown on your abilities. So for PvE purposes, you can still go this. And as you can see, I'm on 28k HP, almost 29k. So very, very strong, solid build. So yeah, Seeker for PvE. And I think I've updated my quest log. If I haven't, I will, with the PvE skill runes and the spec and whatnot. Moving on. What will be the Guild v Guild meta, so the GVG meta? As it's been for the past few months, I'd say, it's been pretty much tank, 2 DPS, 2 healers. Let me go back to my house. This eye here is creeping me out. As it's been for the past few months right now, it's been 1 tank, 2 DPS, and 2 healers, right? And then the third has been, I mean, we've been playing around with it, right? I'm pretty sure most of you guys who are in a guild that are like that is actively GVGing have been trying out stuff. Like you might have been trying out to have a Deluz Noah spear that just pushes and creates clumps. You might have had a staff wand that is just buffing and plays AoE high focus. You might have had a third healer, a second tank, which has been a bit of a yikes, to be honest. So it's not super obvious as of right now what the meta will be. But if I just had to make a prediction, the way it's looking, so Orb Wand feels super good together, right? As it's standing right now. It is still a bit on the lower end, I would say. I feel like the targets that I am healing are surviving better because I'm able to heal my 3 targets, right? Plus, I'm getting AoE shields from the Wand Orb. Okay. So, will the meta be 2 Seekers, 1 Wand Orb, 2 DPS, and 1 tank? I'm not sure. I can also see 2 Wand Orbs and 1 Longbow Wand being the like support team, so to speak. Maybe there is a world where I play a spec like this, for example. I don't necessarily go for that much healing and I just buff my group constantly. That could also be the case. But I just think that the throughput that the Seeker does is just too good to pass up on. So yeah, to answer your question, I'm not too sure, but I'm fairly certain it's going to be 3 supports, 1 wand orb, 1 bow wand for sure. And then the third one, I'm not like 100% certain quite yet. And then there will be 2 DPSs and 1 tank. Evasion or endurance, and what kind of defense fits best to each healer class? I wouldn't say that evasion or endurance ties down to what kind of healer you play. In a sense, maybe it does. But it depends more on position as opposed to what kind of combination you're playing, right? So, for example, I talked about this in my last video about skill defenses and layering and whatnot. If you're playing on point, for example, right, you are less likely to encounter crossbows and greatsword dagger glass cannon classes that are just building insane amounts of hit or insane amounts of crit and heavy simply so that they can kill people that are coming back from respawn, right? So-called respawn groups. But like, if you are playing on point, for example, you are more likely going to face staff daggers, spear daggers. Those usually have less offense to a degree. They're still playing glass cannon, but they have some defense tied into their build so they can survive. And they're not able to hit those kind of levels of hit, for example. So it makes sense to go for more evasion on point. You also have tanks running around on point, trying to hook you, trying to push you, trying to just stun you constantly. So it makes sense to hopefully be able to evade them with melee evasion. So on point, for example, evasion is definitely a better option overall. If you're playing in a respawn group, you're most likely going to face greatsword daggers, crossbows, for example. They don't care about how much evasion you have because they can reach hit levels to the point where they just negate all the evasion you have. So it would make sense to build more endurance because you can have some weaken resistance tied into that, which counters crossbows in an effective way. So in a respawn group, for example, it might be a better option to play endurance. And that's how most top guilds play right now. If you're a point player, you play evasion. And if you are a respawn group, you're playing endurance. That's mainly been the reasoning. How to build and play Seeker now? What is the right balance between defense and healing regarding new runes? In the endurance build, at least in the one that I have, if you're looking, for example, at the yellow rune, the yellow rune is most likely the one that is interchangeable most of the time, right? If you're playing an endurance build, you are more likely to run weaken resistance. So that's what I'm running, right? Weaken resistance, because you play endurance and you play weaken resistance. That's two of your layers of defenses. So if you're playing an endurance build, for example, the yellow rune slot would be weaken resistance in the ring. The ones that are interchangeable right now are in the evasion build, essentially. So you have the ring, which doesn't really have anything that's good for you here, because there's no skill damage resistance. So basically the way I'm building my evasion build, at least, is I'm building evasion, and I'm building skill damage resistance, and I'm building crit damage resistance. Those are the three layers that I have. So if you look at my belt, for example, all of them have skill damage resistance. I don't care about the rune synergies in this one. I just go straight up skill damage resistance. Had I been playing, as I said, endurance, because there I'm playing endurance and weaken resistance, then yeah, it would have been great to pop this in here. Because as I said, I don't care about that extra healing. If I'm dead, I'm not going to heal at all, right? But in this case, for evasion, there is no skill damage resistance on the ring. So what do? I smack on skill healing over time. And the same goes for here. And the same goes for the last part, which is this one right there. So that's the way I'm thinking. When it comes to the runes here, obviously I could put skill healing over time here if I wanted to, and I would still get this. I maybe remove some buff duration, right? And I go for the evasion if you have a chaos rune here, right? You can still go for the evasion right here, like this. So you can change it around the way you want it to. I've just felt that the buff duration has been a bit low. Like right now, obviously I'm in my PvE spec. Let me swap to my normal spec. But my buff duration is currently at 89%. I want it to be a bit higher, right? So I've been skipping going for skill healing over time on my weapons. And I've been going for buff duration and then just skipping the yellow one. That's what I've done, at least. So yeah, I mean, here I just swapped it around, but normally it would be evasion here, right? When it comes to PvE, it doesn't really matter, as a healer, at least. I mean, you can slot in pretty much the same, but I mean, I've just gone for some healing here, some max health, max mana, health regen. Here I even have magic evasion. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I just go max mana, max health. Obviously, especially on Ardents, there is a passive that is like cooldown speed increases by 1% per 1,000 max mana. So you want to pop as much mana as possible in order to get your mana pool high enough to the point where you're able to reach this cap. Which is 120% that we talked about before. But if you have like this kind of build, you're probably kind of set as it is. And as I said, I'm still running tier 2 gear. I mean, I have this piece because it's like the necklace is a stat stick essentially. And the helmet was just better than the one I had before. But I could have ran with my normal tier 2 pieces. For the weapons, I run the exact same that I do. I don't even change when I'm doing PV, and I've cleared pretty much everything. So still very, very viable. And lastly, is Seeker dead? And to answer that question, no, Seeker is not dead, never was dead. But as I said in the beginning of the video, like, if people expect Seeker to be as good as it used to be pre-nerf, then you're gonna be disappointed, because it won't. Do I think that the nerf was good? Yes, to an extent, yes, because I feel like Seeker was super overpowered. Do I feel like the nerf has been too hard? Like they nerfed it way too much? Yes, they nerfed it way too much. Like my healing touch went from 2.8k to like 1.2k. It's insane. But you just have to think about it, not just for the raw throughput, but for other value that the class brings, right? And I kind of like that. I don't dislike that different healer combinations are good at different stuff. It's quite appealing, at least, because it makes it a bit more interesting. You get to theory craft more. How can you min-max your support team, so to speak? So I feel like healers are still in an amazing place. We don't know. Orbs might get nerfed. There are some weapon combinations with orbs now that are just performing way above what they should. But yeah, those were some of the most frequently asked questions that I get. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and make sure to join my Discord. I have a beautiful community with a lot of people that are helping each other out. So I will put a pin to that in the description below. And follow me on Twitch as well. Like and subscribe the video so more people can see it and maybe they can get some answers. And yeah, thank you so much for watching me.